Very difficult to be able to make them much more competitive again. Let's not forget the sporting results were nowhere near good enough for Newcastle Football Club. Eddie Howe finished in the bottom half of the table, right? That's not good enough for Newcastle. That's not good enough for the Saudi ownership. Expectation is high. And of course, the players being sold now makes it much more difficult. So rebuilding this type of a football club is very, very difficult to do. When you have financial restrictions, you're trying to make sure that you keep the books balanced. With a club that has more money now, they don't quite know how they're going to be able to spend that type of money, and Howe was frustrated with it. They have had a great history. If you look at the history, it's been always a competitive team at the top of the Premier League. They've had a few years where they've got it wrong and they got relegated. Obviously, the First Division, as you see the titles that they've won, they've been competitive. The most notable player that has played at the football club is absolutely Alan Shearer, and followed very closely by Kevin Keegan and Jackie Milburn. Those are the biggest names. But what do you do now? Now you're finishing the bottom half of the table. I'm starting to look at the transfers. Where can you improve the squad? Look at the players who have gone and the money that's been brought in, Alex. That's insane. Sandro Tonali for 124 million. Anthony Gordon to Barcelona. You've obviously lost a two in a free transfer. Kieran Trippier being one of your main key figures. But then the players they've brought in through the club, they've spent a bit of money here. This is no cheap players here. We're talking about an exciting, talented player. Bamba, Stur, excellent in midfield. Bamba can play defensive, or he can play defensive midfield as well. Joy can play in goal, where I do think they need to improve. And then, of course, Toure comes in with a bit of excitement going forward. But does it really answer the question? I don't think it really does to how we get Newcastle competitive again. And now you've lost your manager.
Yeah.
What does it mean for these new players who have come in through the door?
Well, no, that's a good question, because that's Eddie Howe, right, who's dictating a lot of that. Look who you've lost, though. And the biggest thing for me is that you've lost proven EPL players.
Yes.
Sandro Tonali, Anthony Gordon going for that huge fee, $91 million. You bring in young, very talented players, but players that are question marks on a team that has so much potential and so high expectations.
Sure.
Does it move the needle? And are these players you would have brought in to rebuild this squad after losing those types of names?
Well, these types of players that you're seeing coming in through the door and the money that's been spent, you can clearly see these are project players. They're not guaranteed to give you success immediately. These players, as you pointed out there, have experience and have performed well. Tonali's had his problems off the field, which led to a large suspension. He's come back, he's performed well. That's why the price tag is incredibly high. He's also so important to the Italian football team as well. Anthony Gordon is someone who scored an amazing amount of Champions League goals last season, more than he scored in the Premier League, but inconsistent. So I think you take the money there as well. So I'm okay with that. But you can clearly see with the newcomers who are coming in through the door that this is a project. So that got me quite excited. Okay, now we're seeing the arrivals. You've spent 148 million. The departures have obviously brought in 213. So we're net positive here. Now we've got money to spend. We're probably trying to balance the books a little bit, but if I've got the ability to be able to add some more pieces to the puzzle, I'm looking at free transfers coming in through the door. Julian Brandt springs to mind. Playmaker, he can get possession of the ball, he can be able to be that transition at the number 10 role, he can also play on the left and right hand side in a quick turnover of possession, similar to Anthony Gordon, but actually if you look at his finishing quality, and of course Newcastle know him well, they played against each other in the Champions League most recently, he is a top-class international player. And I still think there's more to come. Every single time I watch him, I feel like he can play at the highest level, but available on a free transfer? Yes, please. Newcastle, in this new project, they need to start to look at these free transfers who are big names. The wage structure, they can afford. But if I'm looking at in the area of the field, Alex, it's got to be up front. Right? Do you think Nick Voltemata is the answer?
Who is their striker? If the answer is Nick Voltemata, this is not a team that's going to make the Champions League. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Well, that was proven last year, right?
Exactly.
And I think Nick Voltemata is also not a striker. They need a killer. And listen, let me tell you something about Newcastle fans. If you think Liverpool fans have an expectation and they're excited about their football club, Newcastle fans, multiply it by 10. They're in the northeast, they're incredibly passionate, they love the football club, they live and breathe for the football club, but they want to see goal scorers. If you think of the names I just mentioned there, Milburn, Alan Shearer, I mean, we can go Les Ferdinand, we can go through all of the names who have played up front. They are entertainers, they're goal scorers. I think Dusan Vlahovic, available on a free transfer, is probably more likely to go to Tottenham than he would be Newcastle, but man, he would be a great fit. And I would love to see him go in there. So to this point, I still haven't spent any money. And the rumours that we are hearing right now is that, okay, Matthias Jaisley is going to be the one who takes over. So let's try to connect another free transfer. Riyad Mahrez. Wow, what a player. Also Premier League proven. Is he still capable of performing at the highest level? Okay, he's gone to the Saudi League and he's performed incredibly well, became an Asian champion over there with Al Ahly. Who were they coached by? Oh, that's right, Matthias Jaisley. He fits the profile of player that they need at the football club with experience and someone, Alex, he can trust.
Look, and at this point, though, I mean, we had you on the floor of the stock exchange. You haven't spent any money yet. These are all free transfers.
I'm a smart businessman. Yeah. So you want to spend some?
Are you going to spend any money? Is my question.
All right, let's go a little bit crazier. You need a goal scorer and you can't get Vlahovic over the line, or let's say you do get him over the line. With Jaisley's connection to Al Ahly, I think Ivan Toney and the goals that he has scored. I actually listened to a podcast recently with Jaisley on it. Excellent podcast. And I can't remember the name of it. His name was Mo, the guy who did it, Saudi guy. Phenomenal podcast. And he actually talked about Ivan Toney, brought his name up. And he said, cool, calm, composed, great finisher, good penalty kick taker. Ivan Toney's already proven goal scorer in the Premier League. And he's also done it for Jaisley in the Saudi League and also in the Asian Cup as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Saudi connection. Let's not forget who owns Newcastle Football Club, right? It is Saudi owned. So that connection's there with Jaisley. Jaisley's connection, he needs players that he can trust because he doesn't have much time. No preseason. You are thrown into the deep end now and you've got to get it right. So Mahrez and Toney are two players you can rely heavily on.
Okay, I like the Toney. I like the connection between Jaisley and Mahrez and Toney.
Yep.
Here's my question, though. You say you want to spend this money wisely, right? We're talking about a valuation that, you look across the board of Ivan Toney, and we're talking like $17 to $20 million, somewhere around there. You're overpaying for Ivan Toney. Do you think that $50 million is spending that money wisely? Now, I know that, there is money to spend, but that doesn't necessarily mean overpay.
Well, I think if you get Dusan Vlahovic on the free transfer, then fair enough. You don't necessarily need Ivan Toney, but you probably do, right, because of the depth. 50 million, the reason why I'm thinking it could be a higher price tag is because of the amount of goals that he's scored since he went to Saudi football. He's been phenomenal. He's been a cult hero over there. I mean, to get him back, it's not a free transfer. You think it's going to be cheap? No way. The Saudi connection could maybe bring that price tag down. But I'm trying to figure out, is it a balancing the books here, or how can we make this deal happen? I do think that there is that connection. So it may be too high of an evaluation for him. But I do think that when he's scoring that type of goals so frequently in the league and also in the Asian Cup and obviously cup competitions, he's going to command a high price tag.
Real quick, Ian, though, you're almost just exchanging money there, right? You've got a PIF-owned club to a PIF-owned club. So how exactly does that work?
Yeah, very complicated. Obviously, it does work because you do still have, you can't just balance the books. City Football Group can't do that. Red Bull can't do that. You cannot just obviously try to balance the books.
Right.
You can do it through sponsorships and things like that. There's different ways that you can actually try to help your football club out, but it still has to be proven to be authentic. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Newcastle are phenomenal the way they do business. The money, the way it moves, you don't hear Newcastle in too much trouble. They do need to balance their books, which is why they've not been able to spend as much money as they would have liked. If we opened up, let's make this, I'll make it as clear as day. If we were to open up, there was no rules, Newcastle would have the chance to go and get the world's best players because they have so much money at their disposal. But you've got smart executives and smart ownership group there that are trying to do this the proper way and the most authentic way. Newcastle are being patient. They won a trophy recently under Eddie Howe. Now it's about, okay, how can we go to the next step? I was surprised by this news from Eddie Howe, but I've just shown you maybe a little way how you go forward here. Young players mixed in with a bit of experience. I'm a huge fan of Jaisley. Terrific coach. And at 38 years old, he might be here for a long time.